opportunity to ask questions, review plans, or make comments after the applicant has finished presenting their information. We ask that anyone who wishes to speak to please stand up to a microphone and begin by clearly stating their name for the record. We usually make our decisions fairly quickly. Please be reminded that our committee's main purpose is to review items for appropriateness and setting, and it is the responsibility of the applicant to comply with the regulations of other town boards and departments, including building, conservation, engineering, health, zoning, and the sign inspector. Applicants can pick up their approved paperwork at the Old Kings Highway office once it has been recorded at with the Yarmouth Town Clerk. Please allow until Wednesday afternoon for this process to be completed. Also, you should know that there is a 10-calendar day appeal period starting once a decision is filed with the Town Clerk. Any person aggrieved by our decision tonight can appeal to the Regional Commission of the Old Kings Highway. Our office administrator will be happy to answer any questions you may have regarding this process. We thank you in advance for your cooperation, and we begin tonight with the first application, which is for construction of solar panels at 897 West Yarmouth Road.
Hi, I'm Dave Brzeski. I'm from Tuit Solar. We're the agent representing the Taylors, who are here as well. So we provided a packet, a few pages long. I'll just step through it. You have that right in front of you? So, yeah. Okay, so the first page is just an aerial view of 897 West Yarmouth Road, showing the location of the panels that we would like to install. There's a total of 31 panels. They'd be black on black panels, meaning they're just all black, which is typical for historic locations or when we do historic applications. There's 20 panels on the front lower roof and 11 panels on the back roof, which is a garage addition that was done a few years back. They're all south-facing to maximize the production of those solar panels. The second page is just a map showing the location in the neighborhood, 897. The third page is just to point out that there's already existing solar panels in the neighborhood at 906, 902 West Yarmouth Road, and then at 2 Hamlin Hill Road. And the panels at 906 and at 2 Hamlin are visible from the street from West Yarmouth Road already. So if you go to page 4, that's just another view of that. The panels at 906 are on the back facing, east facing, those are not visible, but the 902 West Yarmouth Road are, 2 Hamlin Hill Road are, and then it shows the proximity to 897 West Yarmouth Road, which is the property that we're reviewing tonight. Next page is 2 Hamlin Hill Road. It's owned from West Yarmouth Road. Those were just recently installed, so those are actually visible if you drive by. The next page is 906 West Yarmouth Road. Those are also visible from the street. Actually, we did those. Tuit Solar put those in a few years back. Actually came before you when it was approved after some discussion. Okay, so the next page starts to get to the 897 West Yarmouth Road, and I just started at this is the west side of the house, and we kind of move counterclockwise around, so this is really not an issue because any panels wouldn't even be visible from this site. The next page shows 897 West Yarmouth Road face on from White Rock Road. There is some obstruction from the trees, but panels would be visible from there to some degree. Next page, continuing counterclockwise, it's also from White Rock Road, looking from the south forward. A little bit of visibility, some tree obstruction from the road. The next page is the corner of West Yarmouth Road and White Rock Road. At least in the summertime, there is really not much visibility because of the trees of the house, the roof. Next page is facing directly west, so that's the east side of the house. As you can see from that side of the road, any panels which would be on those lower front south-facing roofs really wouldn't be visible necessarily. There might be a little, they're about 6 inches up off the roof, but not really noticeable necessarily. And then the next page is from sort of the north side, looking south towards the back of the house. And again, it really wouldn't be visible from that side. So the next page kind of shows the most visible view from the road, from really the corner of White Rock Road and West Yarmouth Road. Of all the pictures, I thought that would be the most visible relative to the solar panels. And then the next page superimposes what the panels would look like. Again, they're all black on black panels on both that lower roof and then the upper roof where the garage addition was put on a few years back. And that's pretty much it. I think I provided also the specifications for the panels themselves, the LG 320 black on black. So they're all black. There's no silver type lattice type of you might see on some other panels. And again, those are typical for historic locations where the visibility is an issue. We usually go all black on black, which is the same at 906 and West Yarmouth Road and 2 Hamlin Hill Road. So that's the long and the short of it. I don't know if there's any questions.
Are there any abutters to the property present?
Okay. Did you have any plans or intentions of doing any plantings on that, I guess the corner I'm looking at, I think it was the second to the last photo, the most visible angle?
That would be, I'd leave that answer to the Taylors, but at this moment, I don't think they've had any intention of doing any plantings.
Because I know that height, that was required for, was it 902?
Hamlin, for 2 Hamlin.
Well, and also the,
Oh, yes, you're correct, 906, excuse me.
906.
906, right.
Yeah, they
They
planted
were
6
supposed to plant-
arborvitae.
They were supposed to be like, evergreens.
Yeah,
I don't know if they went in.
they are, they're in.
They are
Yeah.
okay. So this, Domri, or Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, can I ask a question of Domri? So, Domri, the picture, I just want to get clarity. For 906
Yes.
in here, so these trees here aren't the ones that were planted?
The one,
Those don't look,
there
no.
are some trees.
So when was? No, they're not evergreens. When was this picture taken?
This was taken a couple of days before I made the application, so it was within the last month, for sure. 3
So when you're out there, it looks as though the 4 trees are probably on the abutter's property. Behind that are the 6 arborvitae that
Oh,
are
there they are,
planted
okay.
along the driveway of 906.
Okay. So even, I mean, when you're talking about screening, we've had this problem before. We've been through it with, more than one time, with screening that was planted and then not tended to and died. So, if it's not permanent, I don't consider it screening, first of all. And this is, unfortunately, really obvious. I remember, I was here when we approved the addition here, the barn garage. That's really tall. It's taller than the house. I don't see how you could screen that. I mean, you're going to plant 40-foot trees? I don't mean to be wise. George is never wise. Speak up, George.
If you do a screening plan, you would probably need something that would grow 8 feet tall from the road. I mean, you could do it along the road at that corner. You certainly wouldn't want to screen, you wouldn't want a 40-foot tree to then cast shade on the solar
Right.
panels. It's kind of defeats the purpose.
you'd have to go all the way around the perimeter of the property to do that. It's like, of course, that's good. Nothing wrong with trees, carbon capture.
Well, and I was just focusing on this, as you know, as you wrote, the most visible angle, and it is very visible and very obvious from this angle, so
It is.
I think something would have to be,
Well, first of all, referencing the other 3 properties in the vicinity that have solar panels, of the 3, anyone is welcome to correct me if I'm wrong, 906 is probably the most visible from the road, in that case being West Yarmouth Road. Having said that, it's set quite a bit further back from the road than this property is, and also the angle of the roof is at a very oblique angle to West Yarmouth Road. This is straight on visible from White Rock. So that's problematical, I think, for all those reasons. And although the arborvitaes that were planted at 906 are not yet large enough to provide much of an effective screen, they presumably, hopefully, will eventually grow large enough to provide an effective screen. And as I said, it's set quite a bit back from West Yarmouth, and the roof line is at a very oblique angle, so you have to really kind of look for them to see those panels. In this case, it'd be hard not to see them. I can't imagine that it wouldn't be obvious.
yeah, I mean, I think there would have to be some kind of attempt at the very least.
I don't know. Okay, if you're talking about screening, well, first of all, we've been through this I don't know how many times. You can't plant a 4-foot tree and say that, call it screening, because it has to be from day one. It has to be screened. I mean, we've had arguments in here about you can plant a seed and the tree doesn't grow for 40 years. We went there, seriously, they actually did this. They planted a bush this tall. They were supposed to screen a parking area, and they called it screening. So if you're gonna, it's my position anyway, I don't know about some of these other applications where they called the screening. It's my position that it needs to be screened totally from day one when it's installed. And I don't want to see it from the road. I've been pretty steadfast in that position all along since my tenure on this board.
Okay.
I don't know if I've seen you here before.
I know, I'm a rookie, despite the hair color, yeah.
Well,
May I ask a question?
I'm sorry?
May I ask a question?
Sure.
What about the house on Hamlin Hill? It's very visible.
I can't speak to that.
The panels are very visible on West Yarmouth Road.
I understand. That's, I would say that's a mistake that needs to be corrected. We understand what you're trying to do, and it's a laudable endeavor, but it's just not in.
We're talking aesthetics here, Joe.
What's that, George?
We're talking aesthetics here. You see a black roof or
No, I understand. Yeah.
it's almost,
It's-
seems superfluous to me. It's like, ooh, solar panels, that guy's trying to help the world. What's wrong with that?
Nothing. Except that's not, except I didn't sign on to this board to save the world. I signed on to, for the Old Kings Highway Act of 1973, and that's my interpretation of it.
We have a mission which is determined by the Act. We really cannot deviate from that mission. And let me read to you a few things pertinent to this application with regard to solar panels. Minimum visual impact on the surrounding neighborhood. Applicant uses ground-level solar panels mountings where possible. Extensive use of vegetation and landscaping so as to minimize the visual impact of the system. Devices should be designed and constructed in such a manner as to blend with existing features in the immediate area. Now, I don't know when the Hamlin Road panels were installed, or,
It was just a year ago, I pulled the field card for that particular property, and I think it was 2017, actually, or so, a year or two ago.
well, my focus was on 906 West Yarmouth Road. That was the one that I thought was most relevant by way of precedent. And with regard to precedent, I know we're humans here. We can make mistakes. And if that's true, that that the Hamlin Road application was within the last year or two, then I suppose we were all duly constituted.
Well, we should go back to that and see exactly if there were any, if there was any screening plan.
But anyway, it's moot. We're not governed by precedent. We try to make the right decisions, but if improper or questionable decisions were made in the past, it doesn't mean that we have to continue with those decisions now. Okay, to Hamlin.
Again, number 906 did use the extensive use of vegetation and landscaping.
Okay.
I know it's not enough for you, John, but at least there's been an attempt made. It's a compromise that I can sometimes live with.
Let me just read about, thank you, Beth. So Beth is reminding me of her research with regard to Hamlin Hill Road. So the roof to be shingled in black to blend in with black panels. Panels will be visible from Hamlin Hill, which is a secondary road. Panels will hardly be visible from West Yarmouth Road because of existing vegetation. The one thing you have in your favor is there aren't any abutters here to object, so.
There weren't any, right,
No.
if
And
I
there
may.
weren't any, there
And,
were none in that case, too.
yeah, and the comment made about the visibility from West Yarmouth Road was that that's heavily traveled, and again, you'd have to look to see them. The way it was presented, there was vegetation along, hopefully the vegetation's still there, I don't know. But that's all part of the application, because I wanted to be sure that you had
Yeah, we've
proper
had
information.
applications presented to us for properties on secondary roads. And in the past, we've made allowances. I can think of one particular application where they wanted to put in an exterior steel chimney
Right.
on their
Yes.
house. And we allowed it because it was a cul-de-sac and a
Basically,
very lightly
dead-end
traveled
road.
road, but we nevertheless made them screen it out, even though
then.
it was a cul-de-sac and a very lightly traveled road. So I think at the very minimum, you'd have to come back with us with some sort of landscape plan that would be compelling and probably expensive.
I think the panels that on the tall roof, I'm not sure you could possibly screen those. Give it a shot. If you want us to continue it, we can, but to the point that Bob was making is, we don't, our bylaw is a state law. So we have a certain amount of leeway. We're appointed or we're voted onto this board, and but it is a state law, what we're trying to interpret here and enforce.
Yeah,
So there isn't a lot of leeway.
yeah. It's not that we're insensitive to energy conservation.
not at
I mean,
all.
these solar panel applications are
They're difficult.
among the hardest that we have to deal with, and it's always disappointing when we deny an application, but that's not why we're constituted, and we have to adhere to the reason why we're here.
Well, I'm open to suggestions for screening ideas.
Yeah.
But you have to understand, this is a very busy corner.
Right.
It's a four-way stop. I
Yeah.
can't tell you how many people don't stop.
Oh, I know, I drive past, I drive that road every
Right
day.
now, we have 3 blind corners. Our corner is the only corner that isn't blocked.
Right,
It's not blind.
we can't take that into account. I understand I know what you're saying, but as far as that argument goes, it's not in our purview at all, the traffic situation. I know, I agree with you.
Aesthetics here?
No.
I don't understand the whole thing.
What, George?
We're talking aesthetics? People shouldn't see progress? That part to me seems very antiquated at the least.
Antiquated, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
That's why we're here.
That's why it's
You're
called a
exactly
historic.
right. That's why it's called
Relevant in 2019, you know?
Well, I didn't write the law.
I understand that. But
And that's not minimum.
Yep, George,
At
George,
all.
we're the Old Kings Highway Regional Historic
Possession.
District Commission. You have to understand that. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Bob, I understand that too.
Okay, all right,
Those
so,
are the laws, but at what point does the law become superfluous?
You'll have to talk to
Well,
your representative
I
about
mean,
that.
if we want to talk philosophy, I'm
Yeah, that's-
hopeful,
Love you, Bob.
I'm hopeful for the day when they'll make these solar panels virtually invisible, and then I'll make our lives a lot easier.
Yeah, it would be, we could say yes every time.
It would be easier to change the law.
Good luck with
So,
that.
Yeah.
write your congressman.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
No. Well, sounds like 1,500 bucks.
So you have basically, the way this is shaping up is you have two choices. You can either just say, this is the application, and I can see, I'm sure you know the way the wind is blowing up here. Or you can say, well, we're open to presenting you with a landscape plan. We can table it, and you can come up with one.
60-foot trees.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
I'm
for
not
the
saying it's
tall-
going to be easy or inexpensive. It's not. Neither one of those. But
I mean, there are fast.
But our hands are
Yeah, we're.
pretty well tied with regard to this. We don't,
Agree with that.
we have some latitude, but we can't just say, well, this is the way of the world. We're moving all toward energy consciousness, and therefore, we're going to turn our back on our mission and just say, fine, let's do it. We can't do that. I'm sorry.
There are solar roofing tiles coming out. They're out now, they're in Massachusetts, they've been applied in Massachusetts. The roofing material company, the one down in the industrial park, they're making, not just Tesla, there's 2 other roofing material companies that are making solar roofing tiles.
Yeah, those are sort of in their infancy. I mean, I'm sure there's a few of those, but those
Yeah,
are
there's-
highly complex and tremendous amount of wiring, so they're not really practical from a residential perspective at this point, from a cost standpoint.
Yeah, well, as I say, I'm
They're-
hoping that we will evolve into something more aesthetically acceptable and still efficient and not prohibitively expensive. I know we're not there yet. I have no control over that. So,
Would you like us to table it and see if you can figure out a landscaping plan?
No point, John. No.
Hmm?
There really is
Yeah,
no
why don't you
point.
just think about it? It's like, but,
well, I don't know. I kind of think
I don't
George is
know if we're
right.
gonna-
I think if, unless you've got a lot of money to devote to this, and it's that important to you to have these,
It was.
If we plant 60-foot trees, it will reduce the efficiency of the panel.
Well-
I don't think you have to plant 60-foot trees,
No.
but on the tall part of the roof, I don't think you're ever going to get them passed.
Well, the only other potential option is to put them on the north-facing roof.
Well, that doesn't make any sense.
But the efficiency is less, and it would probably only produce about half of what you're looking for
well,
your
Actually,
needs.
it's perfect setup for solar.
Yeah, you particularly, usually want to go for the south-facing roof, so,
My house is perfect for it, too.
well, maybe we should
yeah,
stress it when we
I've
write
got a
it.
house that's perfect for it, 3.
Yeah.
If we were in South
So-
Yarmouth or West Yarmouth, would it be such an issue?
Not at all, it wouldn't be an issue at all.
I know.
Well, there are parts of South Yarmouth that are in
The
the
law needs to change right
historic
now.
It-
district.
No, we don't have
It
anything
wouldn't
to
be
do
our
with it.
purview,
It
but it would be the
depends.
historic commission.
Right.
Is what I mean. They,
Yeah.
It's,
Oh, no?
you're new to this, Cam?
About a year into it, but
Oh,
yeah.
see, you've been here before.
Not with you guys, but
Oh,
some
okay.
other places, yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's north of the Mid-Cape Highway.
Well, we've done in Barnstable, we just did one in West Tisbury, that was a
Uh-huh.
ground mount system, where it was the same issue, where we had to provide a screening plan, which
Yeah.
is, it's a ground-mounted array that's 9 feet tall, and
Oh.
and the remediation was to plant 4-foot rhododendron, so it's a similar situation. And eventually, there'll be some screening there, but not at the moment, so.
So you had a clue what you were going to confront when you got here?
Yeah, I mean, but the issue here is you said precedent does not matter, so I hear that. The interesting thing to me is that it's a 1970 house. So, it kind of just a head scratcher because, I understand the aesthetics of the region, but the houses in that area are 70s and 80s types of houses. So it's just a head scratcher from my
Yeah.
perspective.
Well,
so.
in 906, it was built, 3 or 4 years ago? But there still is an
Within the
attempt to
district.
In the
screen.
district.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
Well, are you interested in coming back with a, do
Leave
you
that
see,
up.
does anyone see a
Sound
plan
like it.
that we
Speak for
can?
them on the.
I heard George say no.
No.
So
Do you do an affirmative motion?
You would do a motion to deny.
We'd have to make a motion to deny then if,
So do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to deny.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Well,
So,
So, yeah, everything is decided.
okay, the next and only other item on the agenda is applicants are Jeffrey and Maureen Stewart, and they have an application to replace all windows, the rear window and door and landing, and change the door and trim color at 37 Railroad Avenue, and I presume you are Jeffrey and Maureen?
Yes.
Jeff and Mo.
Okay.
So I guess to start, I think it's maybe the history of how we got here. We closed on a little house with a hip roof the end of April on Railroad Ave. It was for my son to live down here in the summer. He currently lives there. Shortly after, I came down here and met with Beth, and I think we were going to go for an exemption on the property to change the windows and paint the trim and paint the door. a different color. About 4 weeks after that, my son texted me and said, some guy showed up, asked to see our roof. And it was Mr. Kelly. And he told my son, you got a historic roof? And all I got back was, Dad, you got a historic roof. And I think I have an email from June 7th where Beth emailed me and said that you're probably best to come back, fill out the paperwork, and come to this board and talk through what's the best way to go. Since that time, we've done some studying. I actually found a book on the salt works. And when you look at the pictures, you can tell that the roof has the same design and probably is, well, it is, based on, when you go up inside the house and look inside, when I first went in there, I found it looked odd to me, but it was obviously one of the roofs from there placed on a house. At some point, that house was moved from across the street. The foundation is a 70s, 80s full basement foundation. So we're still learning more. I do have Mr. Kelly's number, but I haven't called him yet to touch base to kind of talk about it. So I guess the roof is historic. Then when we bought it, the deed said it was a 1940s house, but apparently all houses are 1940 if you don't know what it is. So the plans that we have is to paint all the trim white. We'd like the front door to be Hale Navy Blue, which is a historic color, 154. On the windows and siding, replace all 8 windows, simulated divided light windows, same size as the current windows, all white with a colonial grille. Some of the windows are slightly different sizes. I think maybe some were replaced at some point in time, but we'll make them the same size. We removed the idea with the door altogether, and we'd like to replace the siding with like kind, which is white cedar shingle. On the exterior of the house, the 2 main areas of the front of the house, and when you're looking at the right, so the cars that drive through Railroad Ave heading, that would be south, see those 2 sides. So we don't want anything on those 2 sides, and we want to cover the left side of the house with some evergreens so you can't see the backyard or the bulkhead or the AC unit. We want to replace the existing bulkhead with a white bulkhead. Add 2 spigots, which we'd keep in the rear and the left side. And then my thought is to remove the electrical outlet from the front of the house because there was no electrical outlets in that point in time in the 1800s. So,
Yeah.
and that's what we're hoping to do.
Were you going to do anything to that front landing?
I don't
Okay.
know yet.
Oh, okay.
I don't know yet. The box itself is pressure-treated wood. And then the step in the front is obviously decayed down to 1 little step. I imagine the middle is still is the original. I don't really know what that next step would be.
No, I thought I had seen it or heard it, so I just wanted to clarify. But I think everything looks appropriate.
So
and
these are all like for like,
Yep.
essentially. Well, any questions?
No,
I think it's a sweet little house. Do I hear a motion?
approved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you so much.
Welcome.
That's really cute.
Yeah. It is.
I might say adorable, but I don't want to
I was,
diminish it.
I was zipping it. You do need to sign some paperwork.
Right. Okay. So. So essentially, what this says is if you're going to make any changes, we have to be notified. There's a sign right here. Okay, you're all set?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, guys. Good luck.
Okay. We have no continued items. The minutes were emailed by Beth. If no one has any questions about the minutes, I guess I could entertain a motion to approve.
Well, I'm not going to be able to vote because I wasn't at that meeting.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
That's good.
Since Bob's the only one
Yeah,
here,
yeah,
I can put them to the next.
Okay.
I'll put them on the next agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's no other business that I'm aware of. The next meeting is Monday, August 12th at 7:15 PM.
I make a motion to adjourn?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.